Hey, everybody, welcome to the Thanks, But No One Asked You podcast where storytelling meets unsolicited advice. And today I have one of my good friends here, Denzell, aka Denny, Den Turner from Detroit.
What up, though?
Welcome.
What up, though? Happy to be here. Appreciate you for having me on your platform. Been a long time coming. Told you to do a podcast years ago, and now you're doing it. So
Okay.
shout out to you.
Yeah, that's crazy. Here at Fanbase, we love to pass the mic. In fact, this segment is called Pass the Mic. That's what we're going to do this whole time. So just buckle up. All right. We're going to get into a few things. First and foremost, we have to do hot seat. So you're going to answer some questions, and then we'll get into the interview. Number one, what's the most overrated spot in Detroit?
The most overrated spot in Detroit, it's a few,
Oh.
and I'm trying not to. It's a few, and I'm trying not to get in trouble. Actually, no. So there's Coney Islands, and then there's the Coney. So everybody talks about when you come to Detroit, it's Coney Islands, basically like our diners, quote unquote. And so typically you have a neighborhood Coney. If you're really from Detroit, you have a neighborhood Coney that you go to or somewhere in the city proper that you go to. Now, everybody talks about who visits Detroit, these two Coney Islands that's downtown. And they talk about Lafayette and American. They're both next to each other. So as far as those Coney Islands go, American is the bigger one and the one that you see if you're just walking down the street and it's like a marquee. However, highly, highly, highly overrated. It's been there for years, but that is not the best Coney Island in the city. So I always look at somebody sideways if they say that's their favorite Coney Island.
Okay. All right. Coney Island is just not a place that I'm going in general. So, what is, I know this is the question that you have to ask people. What do you order at a Coney Island? What do you order?
What do I order personally? I get a grilled chicken pita, gotta get ranch on the side, and then I also get chili cheese fries. So that's my go-to order. Occasionally I'll go for the Coney dogs, which is what they're popular for, but always the chili cheese fries is the must, and then it's either gonna be Coney dog or it'll be a grilled chicken pita.
When the last time you ate that meal?
Oh, it's probably been like 4 or 5 months. I try not to. It's one of them things where you where you do it like maybe twice. You don't go as much as like I used to, where I used to live off of it every week. But no, you do it like every once a quarter, really once a quarter, pushing it really like every 6 months or so.
Wow. Because, yeah, you said something about ranch. I was like, I'm lactose intolerant over here. Are you lactose also yet? Not yet,
Never
is
will
what he
be.
meant to say. So I don't know if y'all know this, but 70% of blacks are lactose intolerant. In fact, 90% of Asians are lactose intolerant. So it's coming. It's just a matter of time. It's not if, but a matter of when. Let's move on to the next topic. Um, how rich would you be if you had $1 for every time someone sang, "It's so cold in the D"? Everybody remembers that song. How rich would you be?
I actually wouldn't have that much money because only certain people. So you from the Midwest, so you probably caught wind of that when it happened in real time. So yeah, I wouldn't have that much money. It wouldn't be maybe like $50 or something like that. But yeah, it's not that common.
All right, cool. Well, if you don't know, we're going to add the clip so that you can rewatch it because that's how I know Detroit. If you're not singing "It's so cold in the D," you're not really from the D. All right. What was your Black Planet handle name?
See, this is where the age gap between us becomes very apparent because I didn't have Black Planet. I wasn't old enough to be on Black Planet at the time. But I had some crazy, probably like AIM. Not actually, no, they weren't too crazy. I was on Crush Spot. I was on Facebook, MySpace. I can't remember my names from back then.
Okay.
But yeah,
What about AIM?
AIM. I have no idea, no clue. It's so long ago.
Okay. I was definitely Babe Girl 44 across all platforms. We just keep it simple. Okay. Shout out to Black Planet. We need to bring it back. Best Nickelodeon show of all time.
My default is all that. However, my mind is tainted after watching that documentary, so now I feel bad. But all that, probably number one for me. But if I'm thinking realistically, like who is the GOAT, I probably say it's probably
Say it at the same time. One, two, three. Rocco's
SpongeBob.
Modern Life.
We shouldn't have been watching Rocco's Modern Life as kids. Number one.
Rugrats.
No,
Yes.
okay, all right. So here's the thing. So
Rugrats.
okay, so you got all of those shows were great, but I'm saying you said greatest of all time.
Yeah, let's do it all over.
I think about SpongeBob and its longevity and how it's still going in terms of how people correlate to that show and like what it meant to Nickelodeon. Because when we had that era of great shows,
Yeah.
that passed, and then SpongeBob pretty much had to carry the torch for that next generation.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say what everybody's thinking. You too old to have been watching SpongeBob when it came out.
I caught it right when I was
And
making
no,
that transition.
nobody can hear you because you don't have the mic. They can hear me. And if you are 38, like this man right here,
I'm not 38.
you should not have been watching SpongeBob when it came out. Rugrats actually was one of the top shows. Rocko's Modern Life is a close second. And Ren and Stimpy. Was that Cartoon Network? Ren and Stimpy was
No,
on.
Ren and Stimpy was
That was like
Nickelodeon. It was
MTV.
Nick at Night. That was Nickelodeon.
Man, I think Ren and Stimpy was also on MTV. That joint was crazy. Remember the grind on MTV?
No.
6 a.m. If you had to catch the bus early in the morning, you turned on the grind on MTV, and it was just people dancing to music. It didn't make any sense. They was at a pool like, hey, hey, hey. They're playing all the latest jams, and people are just dancing. I'm about to add all these clips. We're going to add all these clips. We got to bring this back. Okay, bring it black or bring it back?
Both.
Okay. And the last one, could you please read your 3 most recent ChatGPT prompts for the audience? I'm going to be looking over his shoulder in the event that he wants to skip one.
All right, let me see. Most recent prompts. ChatGPT. So, the most recent prompt, can you help me make this email better and more impactful? That's one thread. I got a million threads, so I'm just gonna jump around. Let's see. I have one for podcast guest research, and I told it to give me some titles that I can name my podcast. I prefaced it by saying what the podcast was about or who I was talking to, and I said give me some podcast titles, and then I'm gonna try to jump around to a different one. Let's go to my Black business thread or business idea thread. And I said, I'm gonna give you a LinkedIn one. Can you create a realistic image of the city of Detroit that has a message that says "Happy Birthday, Detroit"?
All right, well, those are kind of dry. I mean, I see you on your business.
Yeah.
Do you have a secret, like, private page for ChatGPT of, like, stuff that you prompt later
Like
after midnight?
like the what they call it, not ChatGPT after dark, but the black market, like that stuff,
What's that?
or the what they call it, the dark web. That's what it is,
Oh,
the dark
Jesus.
web. Yeah.
The dark web. No, we don't need to be on none of that. All right. Okay. So for those of you who do not know, Denzell runs a podcast called Black Fridays. I thought we were gonna like say it together. Black Fridays podcast, and this is where he features small black-owned business. I don't even think it's small, just black-owned businesses in Detroit. I seen you've had the mayor on there, the up-and-coming mayor. Somebody's running for mayorship. I seen you had people from the Lions organization. You've had a lot of people coming onto the show, and how did you even get started with this?
Yes. So great question. I actually came up with the concept of Black Fridays in 2020. So we both graduated from our MBA programs around during that season, that time of the year, and finishing the MBA in 2020. It was a very fragile time overall. So I had obviously the country was under civil unrest because of George Floyd's murder, and during that time frame, there was a call out for Black Tuesday to only support black-owned businesses on a certain Tuesday. So at that point, my mind started spinning of, well, how can I play around with the concept of Black Fridays, black-owned businesses, doing something on a consistent basis every Friday. So I sat on that for a while. That September, I came up with the concept to do an Instagram live series where I would talk to different black-owned creatives, entrepreneurs in my network, and have them share their stories to be able to bring a spotlight to what they're doing so that we can empower our black business community, so that we can inspire some economic changes and economic growth to not have to endure certain situations like George Floyd had to deal with just in his everyday life and things like that. So that was the inspiration. And then I started the Instagram live show, did that for a little bit over a year on a weekly basis. And then after that, I took it to a traditional podcast platform, and I've been podcasting ever since.
Yeah, so somebody said this. We were at the podcast summit yesterday, and somebody said this statistic that 97% of podcasts fail or people just quit them. And so, how many episodes are you in? And do you plan on ending the podcast?
So currently, I'm at or over 200 total. As far as my numbered episodes, I'm at 142. 142 just dropped today as we are talking. And depending on what time people see this, I might be at 145 or 150. But that is where I'm currently at in terms of episodes. And then the research that I've done is that people actually don't make it past 3 to 6 episodes just because they get into podcasting. They realize that they either don't have the stomach to be able to endure all the things that you have to do in order to just stand up a podcast, and or whatever it is that they thought they were going to talk about, they don't really have a strategy or a plan about how to do that, or something they're not that interested in, and they're really just trying to do it for either a cash grab or attention grab, and realize like that's not really worth my time. So that's where I'm at in the process. I don't plan on stopping or quitting anytime soon. This is a labor of love for me, and I love engaging with the different people that come on my platform and being able to creatively help share their stories. And it's just, like I said, a labor of love. So I don't plan on stopping this platform as of yet. But if anything, I want to, elevate and try some new things.
All right, bet. So let's talk about your podcast. So, fun fact, y'all, I follow and subscribe to your podcast, but I don't listen to it. Now, some would say I'm a bad friend. I don't think so. Yeah.
I'll explain, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not a bad friend. I'm a great friend. And I think there's a lot of different ways to support somebody's podcast. Everybody every day is saying, I want to do a podcast. I mean, I said it and I felt the reason I didn't do it for so long actually was because I felt like everybody had a podcast. And I was like, everybody don't need a podcast. And why do I think I need a podcast? I also really didn't have anything to talk about. I just talk to be talking sometimes. But I think there's so many different ways to support podcasts. You don't have to listen to them. What are those different ways to support somebody's podcast?
Yeah, so I would say that you are not a bad friend in the sense of the topic of what I'm talking about may not, or podcast in general, or style of podcast that I do, you may not necessarily be interested in. So I learned very early on that you don't rely on family and friends in order to grow your show. I think the point that I'm gonna circle back to is your original question of how can you actually support somebody's podcast. But I think that you don't rely on them in the sense of thinking they're going to watch every episode or hang on to every word that you say, and just really go out there and help you push this thing. That's up to you to do, and it's up to you to be able to find the people who are interested in what you do, because what the term that I've been seeing people mention is that people who are going to support your platform are probably going to be people you never meet or complete strangers. And I talked to somebody at the podcast summit today, and he was just talking about how you are leveraging podcasts to elevate your voice if you have a show or interest in getting the show, because there is somebody out there who needs to hear what you're saying, or are interested in the stuff that you are talking about. So those are the people that you want to focus on. If it just so happens to be your family and friends, great, but don't expect it to be, and don't expect that of them. If anything, make it a challenge to say they may not listen to my show right now, but they like Joe Budden, or they like Joe Rogan, or they like listening to the Breakfast Club on podcast or theatrical podcast. Make it your challenge to say, what can I do to make my show more interesting in order to get their eyeballs on it? So you had mentioned some of the guests that I had recently, and that's when it's people who've known I've been podcasting for almost 5 years. It's people who've known that they didn't pay attention to my show or say anything to me about my show until some of those moments happened within the last couple of months. And then it's like, oh yeah, you really do your thing. I've been doing my thing for a long time now, for 5 years now. But thank you for finally seeing that. That means I did something that was either of value to them or grabbed their attention. So I would just encourage people by saying that. And then in terms of how you can support people podcasts, if you are not a podcaster or a podcast person, it's always some very simple free methods. You can like somebody's show, or you can like someone's content on social media. You can share their content on social media. When it comes to YouTube, you can drop a comment, you could drop a like, you could, even if you don't care for the show, you could, this is a cheat code, and somebody had put me up on game about this. You could watch their playlist, or you could just put one of their videos on in the background and help them get a view, help them build up their metrics, and help them out that way. And then maybe you might stumble upon, like, oh, this is not a bad show at all. So those are some forms that you could be able to do. If they have a listserv or a newsletter, sign up for that stuff. These things cost you nothing at all, or at bare minimum, understand a little bit about what their show is. And so when you come in contact with people and that person may not be in the room, mention the show to them if it aligns in terms of possibly being a guest, or if there is some alignment for some type of business to be done or some type of connection. Mention their show to those people. Doesn't cost a thing. Now, if you want to spend some money and they got merch and they got affiliate links and stuff like that, by all means, shop till you drop and help them out that way. But for the most part, it doesn't cost you anything to be able to provide that type of support, or just be a pillar of encouragement. Just be like, hey, I know you've been doing your podcast thing. You keep doing it, and encourage them to do more, and listen to them when they talk about some of their problems or whatever the case may be. But you can just be a friend or be a partner or be a loved one that is encouraging them to continue to do their thing. So 90% of what I said don't cost anything.
Yeah. And I love that because when I started the podcast, I was just like, I'm going to do it because I'm thinking about how it's going to help my business overall. My business being doing leadership development, doing speaking engagements, keynotes, and it's good to have reels or clips of you speaking so people know how you sound. And that was something I was missing 2 years ago. So part of the reason I started the podcast was to start to supplement my business. But naturally, when you started, you pop in on YouTube and you check the count. You like, only 33 people looked at this. And for a couple weeks, I was like personalizing it, and I felt away, and I was like, oh God, this is about to just be a trash podcast. But what started happening was there's a lot of people who are engaging with your stuff and they're not liking it, physically liking it. They're not tapping the thumbs up. They're not subscribing necessarily, but they do tap in. And the best part is that those people, when they see me in real life, tell me about it. And that for me has been like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing it because this person is really tapped in, because we're having a full blown conversation about something that I said. And I think we don't talk about that part enough. Not everybody that's engaging with your stuff is physically engaging with your stuff. And I think once you can get past that mindset and you're actually doing it for you, it just becomes easier. So this is easy to me now, but the first couple of weeks I was like, oh my God, it's not funny enough, it's not cool enough. And it just was like, I don't really care anymore, actually. The people who are listening like it, so it is what it is. Now you have, speaking of all of this, you have a course that you're offering. Now, when I see courses about podcasts, it's always the same thing. It's like, your podcast needs to be making millions. You want to be making 6 figures every month on the side for your podcast? And I'm like, who's making this money? In fact, I told you this story. Somebody slid into my DMs, and he may see this. He probably won't watch it, so it's fine. He slid into my DMs at the front end of Podcast Summit and was like, he had sponsored an ad, which I've tracked it now. Once you put an ad and you sponsor it, it's going to show up. And it showed up several times. And then I engaged with it. And so he DM'd me and was like, hey, I can help you make money on your podcast. And I was kind of like, I didn't ask you for that, my G, like, back up. And then he was like, well, I'm tracking towards $1 million this year. And I'm like, come on, man, come on. If you was tracking towards $1 million, wouldn't you have somebody else reaching out to me? Why are you reaching out to me? You a millionaire, almost. Like, how do you even have time to talk to me? You should be working on the business, not in the business. Either way, I kind of hate that aspect of it, because now people are capitalizing on people who just want to start maybe a hobby. So do you cover these topics? Do you help people get out of their comfort zone? Like, what are the things that you cover in your course?
Yeah, so I think the best way to describe it is that I was having this same conversation with somebody earlier today, and we were having lunch during the podcast summit, and they mentioned that because a lot of the conversations, and it's not only at the podcast summit, but of course that's part of it, because they're teaching you how to be able to scale your podcast up. That's great for somebody who has a show that is looking to go to the next level, or at a certain level, or potentially, let's say, just entrepreneur in general. You podcast as a way to market for your business to go to the next level. Now, the way that they described it when we were at lunch is taking someone from 0 to 1 versus 0 to 300. And so it's hard to conceptualize, and it sounds all good. Like you can make millions and make thousands of dollars and X, Y, and Z. All you gotta do is this with your podcast. But for me, I wanted to be able to remove the barriers, or as many barriers as possible, for people to get into the podcast space, to whether you want to do it from a creative expression or you are looking to be able to monetize at some point in time. I want to be able to help them get off that starting block and actually get into the game. So I developed the Pocket Podcasting course, and I started to do it in person, where I was teaching people. I came up with a curriculum to teach people how to podcast from their phone. So I came up with a half day course, and I would get people together, take a small intimate group, and then we would go through the process of conceptualizing your podcast. Actually, I start with the history of podcasting, like what it means, how it started, and then we get into conceptualizing your ideas and turning that into actual episodes and concepts. And then we also go through recording, editing, doing all these things all from your phone and uploading and getting your podcast streaming. So by the time you're done with my class, you literally leave with either your pilot episode or a episode of your podcast. Like that is the takeaway that you get, not just, oh, these are great things and make sure you think about this, keep this in your back of your mind. Like, no, you actually leave with something tangible that you can share with people. And I make my students share it with people when we do our in-person class, to get that feedback in real time. So you remove that whole fear factor of, oh, it don't look perfect, I don't want nobody to see it. No, we getting straight to it. Send it to somebody, because at the end of the day, a podcast is about a great conversation, because a podcast is the audio format that is accessible via the internet, so digitally. And so if you have a great conversation, you can have a great podcast. The visuals do matter. They don't matter as much as you do, because if you got trash audio or trash conversation, that's what's making people not engage. It's not the visuals and all of that. That's a part of it, but that's like secondary or third tier. So I digitized the course, and now it's available. It's on demand. You get lifetime access to the information. And now with you being able to do self-led, you can walk away after 2 to 3 hours, a little bit over an hour of self-learning and video, and then some application, and then an hour or two of your own time. You'll walk away with your podcast being streamed on the internet.
Wow. Okay, well, I just want to, I'm gonna call you out because, you said it's about the conversation, but this is the same person. He's the only person actually that says things like, "This video look crispy, and this video look real grainy. What's going on here? Why are they different?" But like he said, nobody's paying attention to that. Nobody cares. Just him. Okay, so I have seen you kind of step outside of yourself since from when I knew you in Bellevue. You were a very scared little boy in Seattle, Washington, very shy. He was hiding behind trees and public spaces. It was weird. And today, you're like in front of a camera. So, what are like one or two things that you have learned about yourself from doing this process?
So pretty much everything you said was not true at all. There was a little bit of truth. There's there's a little bit of truth in it, but you tried to be where you was a new person in a new space at a weird time during the pandemic. So, and you was able to thrive, but took me a little bit. It takes me more time to warm up to spaces and people, because I'm naturally an introvert, but I figured out how to work out this extrovert thing, so I can get myself in the right mind space for that. But as far as a couple of things that helped me be able to get more comfortable with being in a space is actually not being afraid to. So I think the rejection factor was a big thing for me, just overall, in terms of communicating with people, especially when it came to like business. Like, you don't want to be told no from like a prospective client or something like that. And so by reaching out to people for the podcast, like, I have a greater purpose than me. So that gives me the edge to be able to say, okay, I'm willing to do this for the good of the platform and not necessarily about me. It's about the people who could use this information. So not being afraid to reach out to certain people or certain caliber of people. So I've been able to get more comfortable with that. And then also recording on video. It's me being able to podcast and do a video podcast gives me a cheat code to better show up online and have opportunities for me to be able to show up online, because for me, it's still hard when I have to do a solo podcast, which I've done a little bit more recently. where I have to talk in front of the camera by myself for like 10 to 15 minutes or something like that. Even doing a social media video where I'm just talking, I try to get myself in a natural state or a natural train of thought and conversation to make it a lot easier. So I don't have to do a whole bunch of editing, stopping and starting, trying to read off a script. That don't really work for me a whole lot unless I practice that script a whole bunch of times. Some people, I think that over the years I've grown as a public speaker. Podcasting has definitely helped, but even prior to that, when it comes to having to speak or do presentations, I practice the hell out of those things beforehand so that I don't get up there and
You
I'm
still
stumbling and
stutter.
bumbling.
Still stutter. Still stuttering. Did you pick that up?
That's part of.
I
See,
got
I'm doing it
footage.
now. I'm
Yep,
doing
yep,
it.
yep, 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 yep.
Yeah. So yes, those are some things that helped me get more comfortable with this space and helping me realize that I was capable and then get out of my own way. Because once you get into it and you get into a flow, then you can start having conversations and podcasts with anybody. I've literally had pop up interviews like this one where it's just like pull up and we gonna make it happen, or stopping people at different events and like, would you mind doing a interview with me? And so yeah, you stay ready. You ain't gotta get ready.
Damn, that's a bar. All right. We are now at the segment where it's called this or that. I'm going to give you two populations and you're going to pick one. And you're going to have 30 seconds about to give that population unsolicited advice. So you get to say whatever you want. Get it off your chest, whatever you've been thinking about. And we're going to start with a doozy. Seattleites or Detroiters? Who would you like to give unsolicited advice to? I already know, and you better be honest.
Yeah, so to my Washingtonians and my Seattleites, if that's what they call it, I just want to express that what they say about Seattle Freeze, I believe is what they call it, or what they call it. Yeah, yeah. So what they say about Seattle Freeze is definitely true. I would encourage.
No.
No, it is. It is. We got lucky. We got lucky in terms of some of the
So you
people that
didn't
we met.
experience it.
Yes, I did. Yes,
Okay.
I be. Yeah. So when it comes to Seattle Freeze, it's a very real situation. It's a very real thing for people who are not from there and or trying to get involved in different social settings and social groups. I would just ask y'all to be more accepting, to lighten up, to let more people in. It's not Seattle is, and I'm not trying to downplay Seattle at all. It's a beautiful place. I encourage people to visit there all the time, but it's not the first thought in terms of people who want to come there and live there. So if you really want people to come and experience a lot of things that y'all love about your place and that you enjoy, then just open up a little bit more, be more welcoming, and allow those people in. Allow them an opportunity to come in and get what y'all get out of the place that y'all love and grew up in.
Yikes. He has a lot to say, guys. We'll edit that down for you. We'll put smiley faces around it. Okay. You are a big sports fan. As we know, I am mildly interested in sports. Do you have unsolicited feedback for the WNBA or the NBA? What a time.
Yeah, I have some unsolicited feedback for the NBA specifically. What y'all need to do, All Star Weekend needs to go through some revisions. And one of those revisions that needs to happen is a King of the Court tournament. There's been a lot of conversations about who is the best one-on-one player in the world. People talk about Michael Beasley. People talk about Carmelo Anthony and Kevin Durant sometimes. But two of those three guys that I named are not in the league anymore. If we really want to know who that best player is or have that conversation, let's put together a King of the Court tournament and you let the players get in. They can pull their own money, and then you can have it sponsored by one of the casinos, since we know that that's the thing now. Have it sponsored by one of the casinos. Let the players put in their own money, bet on themselves, and then whoever come out at the top gets the pot. That way, it ain't no speculation about nothing. You know they're gonna go all out. Now, if you are scared of that idea, I got a bunch of ideas. But if y'all afraid of that idea, I'm gonna give you a more safe one. I want y'all to have a fan favorite incorporation into All Star Weekend. Maybe we scrap the celebrity game. Maybe we scrap some type of initiative or game that y'all do during the weekend, or we find a way to squeeze it in. But I want y'all to do a fan favorites game where every team gets up to one or two fan favorite players, and we're gonna put them in their own all-star game so we can see them shine and be able to ball out. And you can see how the 12th or 11th man on the team can really go toe to toe with the rest of the NBA and how they shine. So I want to see a fan favorite game of having my fan favorite player from the Pistons, and we can curate teams, make a tournament. But that's what I want to see.
Okay. What I heard was you want to end the celebrity game, which cuts out women, DEIs. So you want to cut DEIs out.
No. So we
You
so
can
we
cut
can
all the women out.
so this is what we do. That Friday, instead of just the celebrity game, do the fan favorite game, either the game before or the game, do it earlier in the day or later in the day, but add the fan favorite game and still do your celebrity game.
Nah, he cleaned that up. He want the DEIs out of here. Roll them out. Okay, the last question is you can pick your 20-year-old self. Do you remember 20-year-old you?
Yep.
We're going to find some pictures too. I got some interesting photos. We'll drop those in. 20-year-old you or 30-year-old you? Because you 38, you about to hit that cusp. You know, who do you want to speak to and what are you going to say?
I'm not 30. I'm not even 35 yet, but happy 42nd birthday to you, because it's probably come out before that 43rd birthday of yours. But as far as picking them for what, just in general.
You got to give advice to your 20-year-old self or your 30-year-old self.
Oh, to my 20-year-old self, I would just remind him that don't be in a rush to do the things, the goals, the things that you set out for yourself. Know that you have time and be comfortable in